The year 1561 celestial phenomenon over Nuremberg. Have you heard the year 1561 Star Wars? Just kidding. The year 1561 celestial phenomenon was an extraordinary story or extraordinary myth, or coincidence. First of all, let us know what happened in the day. We need travel back in the past to figure out what is the year 1561 celestial phenomenon. And the story goes like this. Peoples who witnessed said this: in the morning of April 14, 1561, at daybreak, between 4 and 5 a.m., a dreadful apparition occurred on the sun, and then this was seen in Nuremberg, in the city, before the gates and in the country, by many men and women. At first there appeared in the middle of the sun two blood-red semicircular arcs, just like the moon in its last quarter. And in the sun, above and below and on both sides, the color was blood. There stood a round ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous color. Likewise there stood on both sides and as a terrace about the sun such blood-red ones into the balls in large number, about 3 in a line and 4 in a square, also some alone. In between these globes there were visible a few blood-red crosses, between which there were blood-red strips, becoming thicker at the rear end and the front, malleable like the rods of reed grass, which were intermingled, among them 2 big rods, one on the right, the other to the left, and within the small and big rods there were 3, also 4 and more globes. These all started to fight among themselves, so that the globes, which were first in the sun, flew out to the ones standing on both sides. Thereafter, the globes standing outside the sun, in the small and large rods, flew into the sun. Besides, the globes flew back and forth among themselves and fought vehemently with each other for over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all, as said above, fell from the sun down upon the earth as if they all burned, and they then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this there was something like a black spear, very long and thick-sided. The shaft pointed to the east, the point pointed west. Whatever such signs mean, God alone knows. All of this are witnessed by the people who saw an extraterrestrial activities in the sky and interpreted with their own thoughts. During my research, the phenomenon happened again in the year 1554. Another 1566 celestial phenomenon over Basel. A series of events on 27 to July 28 and August 7, 1566 reported in a floodlights occurred in Basel, where red and black spheres had led in apparent battle in the sky. Very similar apparitions of the skies were frequently reported during the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648. In modern interpretation is the Carl Jung view that the spectacle was likely a natural phenomenon with religious and military interpretations overlaying it. If the Fes were living organisms, one would think of a swarm of insects rising with the sun, not to fight one another, but to mate and celebrate the marriage flight. A military interpretation would view the tubes as cannons and the spheres as cannonballs, emphasize the black spearhead at the bottom of the scene, and Glazer's own testimony that the globes fought vehemently until exhausted. A religious view would emphasize the crosses. Jung thinks the images of 4 globes coupled by lines suggested crossed marriage quaternities and forms the model for the primitive cross-cousin marriage. It could also be an individuation symbol. The association of sunrise suggests the revelation of the light. Peoples who witnessed believe that the phenomenon is a God's message, or an extraterrestrial battle. What do you think? Please comment it below. Peace.